Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for our last discourse assignment, we decided to analyze whether the politeness principles are being violated or obeyed in Steve Harvey TV shows in a short clip entitled Are We Racist? Continuing the conversation. So before going on, my name is MARYAM binti MANSOR, matric number 046905, and I'm going to start off the presentation. So before going deeper into the politeness principle, we first analyze the transcription of the clip using Hani's speaking model. So the first one is scene and setting. It is in a studio with live audiences and guests. The participants are the host, guests, and audience. The ends, which is the purpose, is to educate the public on the issue of racism and also to present and confront different viewpoints on the sensitive issue. For the act sequence, the host plays an important role. He frequently whether asks the audience or ask questions to the guests, and he also gives off his own opinion. Next, the key is a mixture of seriousness and quite a bit of informality. It is serious because it is a very sensitive issue. The instrument is in English, and this is a TV show. So the norms, the common set of understanding that participants bring to the event is that everyone knows that this is a sensitive issue, so they try their best to not offend anyone. And the genre is talk show. So, politeness principles was introduced by Robin Lakoff in 1973. It is the forms of behaviors that have been developed in societies in order to reduce friction in personal interaction, and it consists of 3 rules: don't impose, give option, and make audience feel good. Next, my friend will continue.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is FARAH IZZATI binti ZAINUDIN and my metric number is 046792. Okay, now let's move on to the further explanation of Lakoff's rules of politeness. So the first rule is do not impose, or also known as distance. This rule is related to formal aspects in conversational interactions where we need to keep distance with our interlocutor. So distance here means how close our relationship is with the person we are talking to. This can be in terms of age, family relation, and occupation. This form of formal politeness also invokes that there must be a consideration for the social distance between speakers and hearers. It can also be demonstrated through hedging. It would include saying things like, could you maybe, or could I perhaps, or might it possible to? And also, in this rule, apologetic phrases are common, such as, I'm sorry to bother you, or I apologize that this is such short notice. In these cases, there is a clear apology for imposing. So, in the Steve TV show, in the conversation between Steve Harvey and a stranger while he was on the plane that he told to the audience, we can identify 2 dialogues that obey the first rule of Lakoff's politeness principle, which is do not impose. So, the first example is when the stranger said, you know, it's probably none of my business. You don't have to answer the question, but have you decided who you're going to vote for? And the next example is, I don't want you to get offended by this. Are you voting for Barack Obama simply because he's black? Okay, so these expressions, you know, it's probably none of my business and I don't want you to get offended by this, that the stranger said before asking the real question that he wants to ask, is used because it is a more polite way and formal way to start a conversation. By using these expressions, the receiver, which is Steve Harvey, will not be offended because he perceives the expression as a polite one. The expressions also implied that the stranger felt guilty for imposing, and there are also a polite construction before the act of imposition. So the next rule will be explained by my friend.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NOORAFIFAH NADZIRAH binti YAHAYA with metric number 046857. I will be presenting on the second rule of politeness principle, which is give option or deference. So this rule of politeness principle centers on the importance of giving options to the interlocutor in giving response either to refuse or accept. For example, I wonder if you could lend me your textbook because I lost mine. So in this sentence, the speaker gives options to the hearer, either he wants to lend his textbook or not. The first example on the second rule found in the TV show is when a stranger said to Steve Harvey, "You don't have to answer the question, but have you decided who you're going to vote for?" So, this sentence has flouted the second rule of politeness principle because the guy doesn't give any rooms for Harvey to answer the question. The next example is when the stranger said to Harvey, "Are you voting for Barack Obama simply because he is black?" So the question asked has flouted the second rule of politeness principle as the guy tries to make assumptions that Harvey would for Barack Obama because he is black. The stranger could have asked, "What are the reasons you vote for Barack Obama?" which will give room for Steve Harvey to answer the question. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Safiah Hani binti ZULQURNAIN with my matrix number 046886, and I will be presenting on the third rule, which is make audience feel good, or camaraderie. Now, this rule of politeness emphasizes closeness between the speaker and hearer. It is about making sure that the receiver feels appreciated for who they are and that the conversation is balanced. You can use words such as, "What would I do without you?" or "That dress suits you." These words can make the listeners feel good. Now let's look at an example from the show where the third rule was applied. Now Rachel says, "I've always struggled with being a part of the conversation on race because I'm afraid that people of other ethnic groups won't respect my opinion because I'm white and I don't understand what they've been through." Now the reason why what she says here makes audiences feel good is because she tried to establish a common ground with the audiences. Not only that, Rachel also displays understanding for racism, and she is very careful with the choice of words she uses as she does not want to offend other people. Another example where the third rule was applied was when Steve Harvey said, "Your viewpoint is still 100% valid because you're saying, hey, we shouldn't focus on the fact he is black." Now, in this excerpt, it is his response to Rachel just now. Now, the reason why he is able to establish camaraderie with Rachel is because he assures her that her opinion does matter, and he also respects her opinion and does not try to correct her whether what she says is right or wrong. The third rule was also applied towards the end of the show where Steve Harvey said, "I just want to say thank you to all of you. This is not the easiest subject. But as I looked around the room, I looked at all of your faces. For me, it was hopeful. I think everybody wants to end up in a great place." Now, the reason why he manages to make his audiences feel good is because he acknowledges their efforts in sitting through this segment despite it being sort of a sensitive issue to talk about. And he also appreciates the display of solidarity amongst his audience by thanking them.
In conclusion, we found out that the second rule was being violated in this situation. However, please bear in mind that the violation did not occur during the live broadcast. It was when Steve Harvey was quoting a stranger's questions towards him, so basically no one in the broadcast actually violated the second rule. On the other hand, we can see that the first and third rules were being obeyed in this situation. As they were on a very sensitive issue, all three parties tried their best to use proper word and proper tone to not offend anyone. All in all, when addressing any kind of issue in any kind of situation, we should definitely obey the three rules of politeness principle to ensure that there will be no misunderstanding and the message can be delivered properly. I think that is all from our group. Thank you.